This is News 10 Midday.
And welcome to News 10 Midday. It's Friday, April 25th. I'm Jeff Maher. A busy day for fire crews in Sacramento. Investigators are looking into two fires that broke out this morning in the Sacramento area. One destroyed a restaurant on 36th and J Street. That started around 3:30 this morning. And then a second fire at a Victorian house in downtown Sacramento. That was at 13th and F. Chris Wynn is downtown. He's got the latest information.
It has been a very busy morning for Sacramento firefighters.
And that wasn't all. Earlier this morning, firefighters battled a two-alarm fire at an East Sacramento restaurant. The Cieleto Lindo Mexico eatery caught fire sometime around 3:30 this morning. Thankfully, nobody was inside. The fire is believed to have started with some construction materials near the back of the business. Those materials sparked up and burned into the attic. No word on when that restaurant will reopen. We will continue to update you on those fires throughout the day online at news10.net. Our other big story today, snow falling in the Sierra and rain here in the valley. Here's a live look at four locations: El Dorado Hills, Stockton, Sacramento, and the South Lake Tahoe area. We're getting a late April snow at the Heavenly Ski Resort. You see that there. Our own Dina Kupfer was trying to make her way up to the Sierra, but she got stuck on Highway 80. She wasn't alone. Catherine Martinez, who lives in Roseville, she was heading to Utah and says she's not surprised with this late April snow.
Last time I went to Utah 5 years ago, or no, more like 8 years ago, it snowed in June, so I'm not going to say anything. It's Sierras. It's unexpected.
Yeah, it happens. Earlier this morning, a jackknifed big rig was blocking the eastbound lanes on 80. That has been cleared, but chains are still required if you're heading up to the Sierra. Just keep all of that in mind. And as we bring in Rob Karlmark, Rob, I know that Dina was excited about that powder. She is a ski nut, and people heading up there this weekend, they can expect some fresh powder.
Yeah, they can. But the really unfortunate thing about all of this, the snow is going to help the snowpack, so that's great. But a lot of resorts have had to close for the season.
We've got a developing story out of Connecticut. A 16-year-old girl has been stabbed to death inside a high school, and a teenage boy is now in custody for that stabbing. It happened early this morning at Jonathan Law High School. That's in Milford. This is aerial footage of the school. Police believe the girl was stabbed because she said no to the boy who asked her to junior prom. That prom was scheduled for tonight. It has been postponed. Checking our top stories closer to home, a high-speed chase ends with a terrible crash in Modesto, leaving 3 dead. It happened late last night. A car crashed into a tree in the front yard of a home on Miller Avenue. Police say the car was stolen by a group of 16-year-olds. It was reported stolen about 2 hours before Modesto police spotted it and then began that chase. This is video from the scene. Police stopped chasing the driver when they lost sight of the car, and it also became too dangerous because the vehicle was driving at a high rate of speed through a residential neighborhood. But soon afterwards, the driver crashed into that tree. The car caught fire. The driver, a 16-year-old female, was pronounced dead at the scene, and 2 passengers, 2 16-year-old boys, later died at the hospital. At this time, there has not been a cause for that crash listed by police. An arrest has been made in last night's fatal car crash in Stockton. The crash killed 2 people. This is a 23-year-old Brittany Tamayo. She was arrested in connection to that crash. She's being held on robbery and homicide charges. Stockton police are still looking for a man who fled the scene. Now, this happened last night just after 8 p.m. at the intersection of West Lane and West Lane Frontage Road in Stockton. The crash is being called a hit and run. This is video of the scene. Police say a white Honda SUV was going northbound on West Lane when it crashed into one of the cars. That caused a chain reaction with 2 other cars that crashed into that pileup. 18-year-old Sokuntir Hin and 21-year-old Richie Razmi died in that accident. Well, Stockton police are trying to figure out why adults walked into Bear Creek High School yesterday, which led to a number of fights breaking out. Nearly 24 officers responded to the high school. It happened just before 2:30 yesterday afternoon. Investigators say 3 adults came onto the campus, started a fight with one of the students. That sparked several other fights as officers tried to control the crowd. The adults who started the fight ran away from the school. At least 1 teenage girl was charged with resisting arrest. When the Stockton Asparagus Festival opens later today, organizers are hoping for a better turnout than what they saw last year. Organizers think that it was because the festival happened so soon after the Boston Marathon bombings, making people feel reluctant to be a part of big crowds. Attendance was down nearly 25,000 people from the year before. And of course, Stockton charities that rely on the festival's proceeds took a financial hit as well.
If you figure 25,000 people, if they all came in and just spent $10, that's $250,000 right there.
Now, this is the 29th year for the festival. It runs from 10 to 7, goes from today through Sunday, and that's at Weber Point in downtown Stockton. About 100 families protested at the Malaysian embassy today in Beijing as the Malaysian Prime Minister says he's not ready to declare the 239 people on board to be dead yet. The search for the missing Malaysia Airlines plane continues to turn up empty. The underwater sonar sub will complete its 13th mission today. So far, the sub has searched 95% of its search area on the ocean floor, and it has not found any trace of the plane. Well, coming up on midday, two popes who left quite a mark on history are set to become saints, and history will be made in Vatican City this weekend in their honor. We're taking a look at the last-minute preparations. And a pair of birds get the star treatment after they take over a traffic cam. That's ahead on midday. And welcome back. The sun is setting in Italy. That's a live look at St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. History will be made there this Sunday when two popes become saints at the same time. Huge crowds are expected, of course, this weekend for that. Terry Moran shows us how the city is preparing.
And so it begins.
Pope Francis is expected to be joined by Pope Benedict for the canonization. Pope Francis is considering this Sunday to be a moment of unity for the Catholic Church. Coming up next, watch out where you build that nest. Birds become celebrities when they decide to build a new home. We'll show you where they chose to take up residence and why it was quite a sight for drivers. Well, this has been quite a sight for those of us throughout the valley and throughout Sacramento. It's been a wet Friday. I know that Rob Karlmark is nesting at his desk, and he's got some details for us on this wet weather and how hot it's going to be when we return. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Caught on camera in Maryland, a pair of ospreys went from friends to pests when they picked a spot for their home right in front of a traffic camera. As Jeannie Mose explains, the pair of birds have no intention of moving, at least until now.
Attention motorists, all lanes are open, but the traffic camera is blocked by a pair of birds?
Well, we're glad it worked out for everybody. That was Jeannie Mose reporting. Our sister station in the D.C. area says that cameras that were involved in that, they would have cost about $6,000 each to replace, so expensive stuff. Now, let's take a look at traffic in our own area. Of course, the big story has been Fix 50. Let's take a live look here. That's what you're looking at. We know that the construction is in its first week. We have a while to go on this project. As you can see, traffic is inching along there as they do have lanes blocked. And we are going to continue to follow this really until the project ends. We know that the crews are going to be placing down rebar and installing dowels for the overhang. You can stay up to date on this construction on news10.net. And Rob, for all those drivers who are stuck in traffic there, they're facing a bit of a wet commute, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to tell you, I think this is going to be one of the first big tests for Fix 50 and that quick moving system Saturday night, Sunday morning. Looks like we're done for the rain and snow for now. I mean, it's really late in the season, and we're in for some hot weather next week.
We still welcome that rain, don't we? Anytime we get it.
Exactly, you know, and maybe people can't enjoy it at some of the resorts, but that it all helps our snowpack and it helps us going forward into the warmer months.
You have some friends at your house, some new friends that I bet are appreciating the rain. They come in the form of ducklings and a mama duck, and I'll explain it a little later, but he's got a situation in his pool that he's dealing with at home with some new ducklings. And I tell you what, I think you'd rather have that situation than what happened in Australia. And we're going to talk more about this coming up after the break, where a kangaroo jumped in the wrong spot, had to tread water for a long time before that rescue. We're going to have the details on that when we return. Welcome back. The 2014 Primetime Emmys announced their host this morning. It looks like Seth Meyers. He's already having a big year. Yeah. It's going to get bigger. The new host of Late Night will host the 66th Annual Emmy Awards. Meyers has won 3 Emmy Awards himself for his work on SNL. The award show is scheduled to air on August 25th at 5 p.m. on NBC. Well, we teased this. It's a happy day for a kangaroo in Melbourne, Australia. Earlier this week, a gray kangaroo jumped a fence and landed in somebody's pool. Take a look at this. The kangaroo was fighting for its life in the pool for about 4 hours before it was rescued. It was taken to an animal sanctuary to regain its strength. Thankfully, he is supposed to be released back into the wild, or the bush, as it's called there, later today. And I wanted to show you this. This is Rob's situation at home with the ducklings. They just hatched.
They hatched.
They're swimming around his pool, and you got Mama Duck looking over about 10
right
there.
And you can see the situation here. There's Mama Duck. There's 10 ducklings in our pool, and we had to raise the water level so that they can get a little bit closer to the edge to hop up. Some of them weren't able to make it out. That's why we used the pool scoop to get them out of there. So they're resting comfortably in this cold weather with Mom right now.
Take care of those ducks, protect them from the cats.
Right.
And bring some bread home. Thanks for watching Midday. We'll see you back here at 5.